Hi, how are you? It's great to have you on board. Welcome to the study of climate change, its causes, and global warming. You will also learn about greenhouse gases, their sources, and the greenhouse gas effect. The Earth's climate has always been changing since time immemorial, but the presently increased observable changes have been attributed to human activities since the onset of industrialization. There are two globally distinguished and respected sources of climate change science and information. One is the Intergovernmental Panel on Climate Change, and the other one is United Nations Framework Convention on Climate Change. Intergovernmental Panel on Climate Change, IPCC, is an intergovernmental body of the United Nations that advances scientific knowledge about climate change caused by human activities. United Nations Framework Convention on Climate Change is a treaty-providing framework for international cooperation to combat climate change by limiting average global temperature increases and the resulting climate change, and coping with impacts that are inevitable. The United Nations Framework Convention on Climate Change defines climate change as a change of climate which is attributed directly or indirectly to human activity that alters the composition of the global atmosphere and which is in addition to natural climate variability observed over comparable time periods. Intergovernmental Panel on Climate Change, IPCC, defines climate change from a scientific standpoint as a change in the state of the climate that can be identified, e.g., using statistical tests through changes in the mean and/or variability of its properties, and that persists for an extended period, usually decades or even longer. The slight difference in definition is that United Nations Framework Convention on Climate Change definition distinguishes between climate change attributable to human activities that alter the composition of the atmosphere and climate variability attributable to natural causes. Human activities are also referred to as anthropogenic activities are responsible for the current state of climate change. This rise in composition of some gases, referred as greenhouse gases, in the atmosphere raises the temperature of the Earth's atmosphere, especially carbon dioxide, causing energy imbalance hence to bring about climate change. Climate change has occurred for as long as the Earth has existed and continues to do so. There are two broad categories of causes of climate change: natural causes and anthropogenic. Natural causes of climate change are natural factors that can drive climate change and have done so in the past. This includes changes in solar radiation, volcanic eruptions, changes in the Earth's orbit, ocean circulation patterns, and natural changes in greenhouse gas concentrations. Human or anthropogenic causes are those human activities that accelerate the concentration of greenhouse gases in the atmosphere. Also included are activities that reduce or interrupt carbon sinks, i.e. removal of carbon dioxide from the atmosphere. Anthropogenic activities include the following: burning fossil fuels, land use change, and deforestation. Industrial processes such as cement production, aluminum smelting, livestock farming, fertilizer usage in agriculture, and aerosol sprays and CFC, chlorofluorocarbons, that damage ozone. Anthropogenic climate change causes are occurring at a faster rate than it did before industrialization. Global warming refers to the estimated increase in global mean surface temperature averaged over a 30-year period, or the 30-year period centered on a particular year or decade, expressed relative to pre-industrial levels unless otherwise specified. The planet's average temperature has been rising at an unprecedented rate since the onset of the Industrial Revolution. The greenhouse gas effect is the main driver of global warming. In other words, some gases in the Earth's atmosphere mimic the effect of greenhouse gas by trapping heat from the sun and preventing it from escaping back into space, causing global warming. Human activity, particularly those associated with carbon dioxide gas emissions, has been understood to be responsible for global warming since the 19th century, and if left unabated, the situation is not getting better. The magnitude and seriousness of global warming are summarized as follows from the IPCC report of 2021. It is estimated that human activities have caused global warming above pre-industrial levels, which is likely to reach 1.5 deg C between 2030 and 2052 if left unabated. There is sufficient evidence of climate changes attributed to global warming at present, and further detectable changes in extreme events will be witnessed. Several regional changes in climate are estimated to occur because of global warming. Various climate-related risks are projected to increase with continued global warming. Finally, mainstream media reports indicate global supply chains will be disrupted due to effects resulting from global warming, a situation likely to worsen as the world warms beyond 1.5 degrees Celsius since the pre-industrial era. 1. Scientists are observing changes in the climate system as a whole and in all regions of the Earth. 2. Many of the observed changes in climate are unprecedented over thousands of years, and some of them currently occurring may not be reversed for centuries or millennia to come. 3. A substantial and sustained reduction in carbon dioxide, CO2, and other greenhouse gas emissions would limit climate change. 4. Unless greenhouse gas emissions are reduced immediately, rapidly, and on a large scale, limiting warming will be an unattainable goal. 5. Different regions experience different changes, which will intensify if warming increases. 6. Climate change is intensifying the hydrological cycle, leading to higher rainfall intensity and associated flooding, as well as more intense droughts in many regions. 7. Climate change is affecting precipitation patterns. 8. Coastal areas will experience continued sea level rise throughout the 21st century. 9. Further warming will amplify the melting of permafrost, as well as the loss of seasonal snow cover, the melting of glaciers and ice sheets, and the loss of Arctic sea ice in summer. 10. Changes in the ocean, such as ocean warming and acidification, increased frequency of marine heat waves, and reduced oxygen levels, are clearly related to human influence. 11. In the case of cities, some aspects of climate change may be amplified, particularly heat and flooding. The greenhouse effect is a result of greenhouse gases, which are gases that absorb and emit radiation at particular wavelengths within the spectrum of terrestrial radiation that the Earth's surface, the atmosphere, and clouds emit. An increase in the concentration of greenhouse gases in the atmosphere increases the magnitude of this effect. The concentration of greenhouse gases in the atmosphere is attributed to human activities. Gases that contribute to the global greenhouse effect are classified as Kyoto Protocol gases and Montreal Protocol gases. The 6 main Kyoto greenhouse gases are carbon dioxide, methane, nitrous oxide, hydrofluorocarbons, perfluorocarbons, and sulfur hexafluoride. The Montreal Protocol gases are those that contribute to ozone depletion in the atmosphere, mainly chlorofluorocarbons and hydrochlorofluorocarbons. Climate change has a wide range concentrations of greenhouse gases in the atmosphere, the Earth's average temperature has been increasing. This is causing more frequent and intense extreme weather events, which have a major impact on our environment and daily lives. 2. Increasing sea levels. Global warming is causing the world's oceans to heat up, resulting in sea levels rising. Low-lying regions are especially vulnerable to flooding and coastal erosion. 3. Melting ice. High temperatures are melting the ice caps at the poles, leading to a rise in sea levels and an increase in the intensity and frequency of extreme weather events. 4. Loss of biodiversity. Increasing temperatures and extreme weather events are leading to the loss of species and habitats that cannot adapt to changing conditions. 5. Changes in precipitation. Higher temperatures are changing regional and global patterns of precipitation, leading to more flooding, drought, and other extreme weather events. The 12th of December 2015 will go into the annals of history as the day the entire world charted the most ambitious action and investment-oriented new course to combat climate change. The Conference of Parties in Paris negotiated a landmark agreement, the Paris Agreement, to combat climate change and accelerate actions for a sustainable low-carbon future, uniting nations for ambitious efforts. Most importantly, the agreement envisages disproportionate capacity among nations and regions. Hence, it was agreed that implementation must reflect equity and the principle of common but differentiated responsibilities and respective capabilities in the light of different national circumstances. The Paris Agreement adopted crucial areas to be addressed in order to combat climate change. 1. The long-term temperature goal in Article 2 is specifically about limiting global temperature increase to well below 2 degrees Celsius, while pursuing efforts to limit the increase to 1.5 degrees. 2. Global peaking and climate neutrality in Article 4, the agreement specifically recognizes that peaking will take longer for developing country parties to achieve a balance between anthropogenic emissions and sinks of GHG in the second half of the century. 3. Adaptation in Article 7. The agreement aims to enhance national adaptation and resilience and reduce vulnerability to the impacts of climate change. 4. Mitigation in Article 4 are binding commitments to prepare, communicate, and maintain a nationally determined contribution, NDC, with domestic measures to achieve them and communicate progress for 5 years. 5. Sinks and reservoirs in Article 5 commit parties to conserve and enhance GHG sinks and reservoirs, including forests, to reduce emissions. 6. Regarding financial flows, it was agreed that developed country parties shall provide financial resources to assist developing country parties with respect to both mitigation and adaptation obligations. 7. Technology for climate change resilience. Parties emphasize a long-term vision for technology development and transfer to improve resilience. 8. Loss and damage in Article 8 is about averting, minimizing, and addressing loss and damage associated with the adverse effects of climate change. 9. Capacity building or support in Article 9, 10, and 11 cover the enhancement of developing countries' capacity for effective climate change action through adaptation, technology, education, and transparent and accurate communication.